from that 80% allocation from sin taxes without presenting any evidence?
Your
to
Honor,
that effect?
the express provisions of the GAA, Your Honor, refers to reserve funds, Your Honor. And the express provisions also of the Universal Health Code refers to reserve funds. So we are of the opinion, Your Honor, we submit, Your Honor, that these contrary opinions, these contrary rights, Your Honor, is the actual law, contrary to the Constitution. Also that the transfer also of the fund authorizing the Department of Finance to transfer is likewise unconstitutional, because only the Constitution only allows the President, the head of the legislature, the chief, and the constitutional bodies to transfer reserve funds from one department to the other, Your Honor.
Are you in effect invoking the ruling of the court in the case of Jusamar versus the OTC, wherein the court emphatically declared that the determinative test in raising a petition before the court is that it must raise a question of law?
Yes, Your Honor, part of it is a question of law, and the actual case in controversy, Your Honor, in such case, the actual case in controversy in this case, Your Honor, as stated, is the conflict of rights between the Constitution alleged by the executive and the legislature to transfer funds vis-a-vis the express provision of the Constitution limiting the transfer of funds to certain individuals, and also of the express provisions of the law prohibiting such transfer of reserve funds back to the Treasury.
Do you consider this case before this court as one of transcendental or paramount importance?
Yes, Your Honor, we submit that in our pleadings, Your Honor, that it is of transcendental importance, and that the transcendental importance have given due course by this honorable court in a number of cases. And the health and welfare of the people, Your Honor, the transcendental importance of the basic right to health has been actually passed upon by this court in the case of Imbong, Your Honor.
May I now ask you substantive questions? Petitioners in GR numbers 274-778 and 276-233 argue that Section 1, Paragraph D of the 2024 General Appropriation Act and Department of Finance Circular 003-2024 are unconstitutional for being violative of the constitutional right to health enshrined in two constitutional provisions. Article 2, Section 15, which states that the state shall protect and promote the right to health of the people and instill health consciousness among them. The second one is Article 13, Section 11, which provides that the state shall adopt an integrated and comprehensive approach to health, which shall endeavor to make essential goods, health, and other social services available to the people, to all the people at an affordable cost. In the landmark case of Imbong versus Ochoa, GR number 204819, promulgated on 8/2014, the Supreme Court categorically declared these as self-executing provisions, and there is no need for legislation to implement the same. Still and all, It bears noting that the so-called threat to the right to health is rooted in the actions of both Congress and the Department of Finance that appear to stymie or impede the timely implementation of the universal health care system. Thus, the characterization of the constitutional right to health as self-executing provision mean that Congress would no longer have discretion to determine how it should promote the same?
Your Honor, the express provisions of the Universal Health Care Law is very clear, Your Honor. The specific amounts to be given to the health care is basically outlined in the Universal Health Care Law, such as already mentioned, sanitary excess, if any. In addition, Your Honor, we also agree that the GAA, contrary to even with the DOF circular, is again contrary to law and does not go with the intent of the Constitution. 4A, as you said, automatic implementation of healthcare for the Filipino people. So we submit, Your Honor, that again, even without the law, it is automatically given, but with the implementation of the law for both the universal health care, then it not only automatically gives it, but the specific provisions and amounts are very clear and should be followed, Your Honor.
Though these constitutional provisions necessarily entail the implementation of the universal health care, such that any threat thereto be deemed violation of rights or the Constitution.
Your Honor, if I may, the Universal Health Care Act was primarily passed in pursuit of these constitutional mandates. Aside from the Universal Health Care Act, there are actually other laws that were passed to so that these constitutional mandates are met. Your Honor, while the language of the Universal Health Care Act is clear, we also take note, Your Honor, that what the government did by getting again the money they originally gave as subsidy for premium contributions of the indirect contributors, Your Honor, is a retrogressive measure, which under, and I believe was mentioned earlier, under the WHO and the is actually, Your Honor, a violation of the right to health.
Let's talk about PhilHealth funds. Do you adopt the postulation that PhilHealth funds are public funds?
Your Honor, no, they are the funds that goes through PhilHealth, Your Honor, even the premiums from the indirect contributors actually loses its character as a subsidy social insurance scheme wherein one fund, and this fund will be used primarily for health services or for the health needs of the people, Your Honor. Despite the fact, Your Honor, that the indirect contributors' premiums are paid for by the government, there is a social, I'm sorry, Your Honor, when the original PhilHealth law, which was Republic Act 7875, was first amended in 2013, I believe, there was a clear mandate that there is a social contract between the government and the people, wherein the government will have to pay for the premiums of those who cannot afford to pay, while those who have the capacity to pay pays for their own premiums. government, by removing the at least 60 billion, Your Honor, as of this, the 60 billion removed by the government from the indirect funds, actually a violation of the one fund policy that is the basic concept of a social health insurance, Your Honor.
Do you recall the authoritative definition of public funds? The Supreme Court had occasion to define public funds in the case of Confederation of Coconut Farmers Organizations of the Philippines, Inc. versus Aquino III, or CR number 217-965, promulgated on August 8, 2007. There, the court defined public funds, and let's check whether your theory is correct. Now, I will define funds in the manner the court defined the same. Public funds are monies belonging to the state or to any political subdivision of the state, more specifically taxes, customs duties, and monies raised by operation of law for the support of the government or for this discharge of its obligations. Do you admit that these health funds become?
Your Honor, there are taxes levied for the indirect contributors. We agree, Your Honor. However, there are also private funds contributors from private entities, such as everybody here in this room, Your Honor. And the one fund concept would put it into, I would say, a trust fund, Your Honor, contrary to a public fund strictly stated by the Honorable Justice.
Under Republic Act 10351, otherwise known, it provides that 80% of the sin tax collection of the balance, the remaining balance that may be derived from sin tax collections derived from this act shall be allocated for universal health care under the National Health Insurance Program. So
fund, as the government being PhilHealth only a trustee in possession of the trust fund given by the beneficiaries and the contributors for PhilHealth.
now let's talk about special fund. The Reserve Fund 11 of Republic Act 11223 is Universal Health Care Act. Can you consider that as a special fund?
Yes, Your Honor. It is a special fund, Your Honor, because it is for a special purpose.
The fund that is derived from the sin tax collections, will that qualify as a special fund?
Yes, Your Honor, because under the Republic Act 11346, which amended Republic Act 10351, the law specifically mentioned that these funds, the percentage, the 80% of the total collections must be used exclusively for PhilHealth, for universal health care under the PhilHealth.
Recall, or are you aware of a jurisprudential ruling regarding special fund? I'm asking about decision of the court.
I believe, Your Honor, the case of CocoFed versus Aquino discusses the special fund, Your Honor.
No, that pertains to Coco levy funds. Now, what's the ruling of the court in that case? Coco levy funds, according to Supreme Court, funds allocated for a special purpose and cannot be used other purpose other than for the benefit of the coconut farmers or for the development of the coconut industry. That's the ruling of the court. Can you apply that to this case?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. In the same line, Your Honor, the special fund for the health or welfare, health and
even after it has been allocated for that purpose, special purpose.
Your Honor, the special fund as collected, once given to PhilHealth, should be allocated for the health and welfare of the Filipino people, the beneficiaries, both direct and indirect beneficiaries, Your Honor.
The 2025 GA has recently been passed into law. Has provision on fund balance of the government-owned or controlled corporations been carried over?
As per our checking, Your Honor, it is not carried over in the 2025 General Appropriations Act, Your Honor.
The petitioners claim that this special provision of GAT 2024 is not valid or void because it violates a statute, specifically Section 11 of the Universal Health Care Republic Act 11223. But if you read the provision, it does not mention health fund. It merely refers to government-owned or controlled corporations in general. If you read the Department of Finance Circular 003-2024, it likewise does not likewise mention about PhilHealth. It is only mentioned in that letter to PhilHealth. In your petition, page 16, I refer to petition year number 274778. You only mention that. It's Exhibit E, Annex E. Now, my question is, from this instance, given this foregoing, are you not questioning the implementation of the law rather than the constitutionality of the law?
In our submission, Your Honor, we asked the constitutionality of the law because the DOF circular allows the implementation of the GAA and allows the Secretary of Finance to transfer funds from one department to the other. Your Honor, as already mentioned, only the President under the Executive may transfer funds from one department to the other. Record, Your Honor, under our petition, we have a letter to the Secretary dated 27 August 2024, specifically asking that said transfer would be illegal and should not be implemented. And until today, Your Honor, we have no answer to our letter, Your Honor, addressed to the Secretary.
Suppose we harmonize this provision in the 2024 GAA with this law, Universal Healthcare Act, and and these reserve funds should remain untouched. Would you still claim that there is improper implementation of the law?
We submit that we cannot harmonize. These are two conflicting provisions, Your Honor. Because specifically stated that it is only for the purposes intended, and if they are trying to skirt the law by passing the GAA and putting a provision that would allow a transfer to us that cannot be statutorically harmonized, Your Honor, and the GAA would be violative and invalid, Your Honor.
Thank you. May I now ask Chairman Neri Javier Colmenares, because in your petition you raise this President certification and this bicameral conference committee. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Yeah, I could vividly recall last February 25, you manifested in my petition, I raised these two issues. Now I will ask you on this.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Your Honor.
Article 6, Section 26, Paragraph 2 of the Constitution provides that the President may certify to the necessity of the immediate enactment of a bill to meet public calamity or emergency. Do you know the case decided by the court which delved into this certification by the President regarding the urgency of a bill?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, if you're referring to the case of Tolentino, Your Honor, it was cited there.
Tolentino et al. Versus Secretary of Finance, 115455, promulgated on August 25, 1994. The basis for such certification has been challenged in that case. And this pertains to the certification of the urgency of the passage of the expanded value-added tax law, Republic Act 7716. The court found that the Senate did not find any need to controvert the same, and in fact, it accepted such certification. My question is, the House of the Philippine Senate and the House of Representatives sitting in plenary accept that certification?
Yes, Your Honor. From the records of the House and the Senate accepted the certification of the President, there are objections, of course, Your Honor, from some senators. But I think, Your Honor, the issue of whether or not the House or Congress accepts the is not going to overturn a constitutional violation. In this case, Your Honor, while the President has the discretion to issue a certification of urgency, Your Honor, it's not a boundless discretion, Your Honor, that the Constitution, because the Constitution put in parameters, Your Honor. The first is that there is a public emergency or a calamity, Your Honor. And second, there is a bill that meets this public emergency and calamity. And third, there is a need for the immediate enactment of this bill to meet such calamity. So therefore, Your Honor, in our interpretation, the President must follow this. Notwithstanding whether Congress agrees with it or not. If the President did not follow the parameters under the Constitution, for example, he issued a certification absent any calamity or emergency, or he certified it, no immediate enactment of the bill, then for us that is the Constitution, Your Honor. So in this case, we argue that the President issued the certification, but from the records of Congress itself, there was no emergency or calamity to speak of. And Your Honor, the reason for our interpretation of this, other than the fact that the certification did not mention any calamity, so that at least Congress discretion to accept or not accept the certification, the timeline itself from congressional records show there was no calamity. They approved the bill, Your Honor, on second and third reading on September 27 of 2023. And then they had a recess on September 30 of 2023. They did not transmit the bill to the Senate despite the fact that it's supposed to be an emergency or public calamity. They only transmitted it, Your So they approved it on September 27. They deviated from the constitutionally required legislative process. But then after all the rush, Your Honor, they took a recess. And then they transmitted it November 4. Then we realized later on the reason for that hiatus is because they formed a small committee to amend the bill already approved on third reading, Your Honor. So that was the reason why they had to wait for November 4. Publicly, the small committee declared, oh, don't worry, the small committee will finish all the amendments by October 10. But then they failed, so it's November 4. Then there is the BICAM, Your Honor. Then they created a technical committee. All these things, Your Honor, we believe does not show emergency or a calamity, Your Honor. And secondly, Your Honor, if Congress is going to delay the approval of the budget on the basis, oh, we're going to have a recess, we're going to form a small committee, and so on. It is a self-created emergency, Your Honor. The President cannot certify a self-created emergency. Ginawa niyo yon, bakit certify sa kasalanan niyo? It cannot even be a preemptive emergency just in case Congress will not be able to pass it in December, so I'll just issue a certification in September. It cannot be preemptive, Your Honor. The certification of the President as to a public calamity or emergency must be existing at the time of the certification, Your Honors. So, in that case, Your Honor, the President or the certification violated the parameters of the Constitution. There was no calamity. There is even no immediate enactment, Your Honor, because whatever the President do, it will only take effect on January 1 of 2024. So much so that whether or not he certifies it, the immediate enactment is not forthcoming as required by the Constitution.
Having said a while ago that it was accepted by the Philippine Senate and the House of Representatives, is that not within the realm of, are you not questioning the legislative wisdom behind such acceptance of that certification?
Your Honor, no, Your Honor, because legislative wisdom can only be considered if there is no violation of the Constitution. In fact, Your Honor, this is very strange. Presidents issue certification. They did not explain to the Congress what calamity I'm addressing, how will this bill meet the calamity, and yet Congress blindly follows the certification. I have a suspicion well beyond this issue, Honor. In fact, it was probably Congress who requested the pair for them to exercise that discretion. Ano ba itong emergency na sinasabi ng Presidente?
Now let me now ask you about bicameral conference committee.
Thank you.
Do you recall decision of the court that made mention about this BCC, bicameral conference committee? Abacada Guro part list versus Ermita.
Well, I've read
Number 168056 promulgated on September 1, 2005.
Yes,
The
Even
Supreme
Tolentino
Court
mentioned that, Your Honor.
said in that case that this BCC is mandated. The court, in effect, recognized that to settle this diverging or disagreeing provisions in the House and Senate bills.
Yes, Your Honor. There is
Are you against this BCC or bicameral conference committee?
No, Your Honor, as long as they follow the Constitution. In the Constitution, for example, Your Honor, appropriation bills should exclusively originate from the House. And the role of the Senate is to propose amendments to the bill. 281 billion unprogrammed fund from the NEP submitted by the President, 281 approved by the House, 281 approved by the Senate. The Senate did not propose any amendments to the 281 billion. Suddenly, Your Honor, the BCC proposes 431 billion, half a trillion, Your Honor, projects in that program fund. So did that originate from the House? No, Your Honor. It originated from the senators and the members of the House in the BCC. Was it the proposal of the Senate? No, Your Honor. The Senate did not propose amendments to the 281 billion. So even the Senate have no power to propose amendments. The BCC, Your Honor, cannot propose amendments to that already approved by Congress and the Senate because the BCC is not the Senate and the Constitution says the Senate may propose.
BCC cannot introduce new provisions?
They can introduce harmonization, as you mentioned, Your Honor. If Congress says 281 billion and the Senate says, let's make it 300 billion, the BCC can now harmonize the two provisions. But in this case, Your Honor, the House said 281, the Senate said 281. So where did it come from? It came from them, Your Honor. So they have no authority to propose it. This is ultra vires, Your Honor. It did not originate from the House. It was not a proposal of the Senate. If it's ultra vires, no amount of an unconstitutional act.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I got your point. Let me ask you about the application of this very popular doctrine of operative fact.
Yes, Your Honor.
Assuming that your petitions are deemed meritorious, will the application of this doctrine of operative fact prohibit the return of the money transferred to the National Treasury?
Well, Your Honor, of course, it's at the discretion of the court. But for us, at the very least, the 479 billion of new items inserted by the BCC should be returned. And those funds which were spent with bad faith, for example, Your Honor, there was a TRO issued, and yet the PhilHealth funds transferred were still spent despite the TRO or after the TRO, and I think they should be returned. The entire PhilHealth fund should be returned, Your Honor. Well, the 479 billion, Your Honor, if there is corruption attendant to the bills, I would like to think that they should be returned, Your Honor, at the very least. But we leave it to the discretion of the court in this case, because ito yung problema, Your Honor. They placed us in a corner. Gawa-gawa ng iilan, everybody's affected. I mean, if you're going to ask would the entire budget must be voided, then everybody's affected, even the court. Gawa-gawa ng iilan, lahat tayo, ngayon nakalagay tayo sa pader, Your Honor. Kaya minsan mapilito na lang tayo mag-operative fact. Siguro, Your Honor, if the court is going to exercise the operative fact doctrine, at the very least, the parameter should be issued para wag nang ulitin. Kasi otherwise, pag inulit nila yan, Your Honor, malagay na naman tayo sa alanganin, mag-operative fact na naman ulit tayo. They've cost hundreds of billions of pesos to the Filipino people. And lulusot lang sila because of the operative fact. Nagastos na namin. I mean, Your Honor, I am now in no conscience to say na sige na tanggalin, ibalik lahat yan. Siguro the court will have to do this as declared by the court, sparingly, case-to-case basis. But for me, if there's bad faith, if there's corruption, the court must order its return, especially the entire PhilHealth fund. For example, Your Honor, 89 billion, that's clear from the questions of Justice Co. And other funds that may have been attended by corruption, Your Honor. In any case, Your Honor, whatever is the decision of the court, if there is an irregularity or corruption, people must go to jail. People must be charged for this insertion of 500 billion peso in the budget of the program appropriation, merely because it's their whim, not because the House said so, not because the Senate proposed it, but because they felt they know of items that nobody ever thought of, not even the President, not the House, not the Senators. They, by their lonesome, the BCC Senators and the House of Representatives thought of these items that nobody thought about. For us, Your Honor, that is not only arrogance, that is a usurpation of the powers of both houses of Congress, Your Honor.
This is what the doctrine of operative fact says. It nullifies with law, but sustains its effects.
Yes, Your Honor, in exceptional circumstances, Your Honor.
So, it does not apply to this case?
It is the court's discretion to apply, but at the very least, Your Honor, we would like to assert at least yung 479 billion. Sana masoli man lang yun. Kasi talagang void yun Ultra vires talaga, Your Honor. But of course, we leave it to the court. Ang limit lang namin, Your Honor, is this. At least the billions of pesos taken from PhilHealth and the billions of pesos taken from PDIC, I heard it, I read it's 100 billion pesos taken from the Philippine Deposit Insurance Corporation. They should be returned, Your Honors, because these are very important to the right to health, as my co-petitioner said, and even the security of depositors, Your Honor. You take 100 billion pesos, more than what was taken from PhilHealth in PDIC. These things, Your Honor, there must be a lesson taught here, Your Honor, and they must be, the court may order the return. It is the burden of the respondents to prove that they did it in good faith, there was no irregularity, no corruption. Then the court may, of course, we submit to the court's discretion on this matter, Your Honor.
Thank you. May I now ask the
Thank you, Your
council's
Honor.
correspondents?
The PhilHealth funds was not discussed in relation to operative fact. Can we add to what my colleague has pointed out? The
proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you very much. The operative fact doctrine is based on, the court says it should look at the effects and rule based on equity and fairness, because it's a rule on equity. So you have to show the one who implemented the law, did they do so in good faith? We will point out the government's action have budgets of bad faith. But before that, Your Honor, let's also look at the effect. Is it equitable? Is it fair to the people when they took away the PhilHealth funds? Clearly, it's not, Your Honor, because those funds are for the health of the people. And our people, if we look at PGH, just right in front of the Supreme Court, early in the morning, hundreds of people line up because they cannot afford healthcare. They have to line up in our government-funded hospitals because they have no choice. PhilHealth should have provided that choice. So it would be inequity if we do not return the money. Now, did they took the money in good faith? No, Your Honor. Why? The law is clear. They should not have taken it. Then we go to COA. Let me point to the COA observations published in the COA website for GOCC's 2023. Your Honor, when they took the money from PhilHealth, it was actually triple whammy on the PhilHealth members. Why? Number one, they took the money in contravention of the law. Number two, when they took the money, their computation was wrong. The COA was saying the 89.9 billion, even assuming the computation is correct, even assuming that their formula is correct, rather.
May I remind you that my time is very limited.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Please expound that in your memorandum.
Your Honor.
Please.
Thank you very much, Your Honor, for giving us the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. We have now has the
Mr. Counsel, may I call your
answers
name?
for respondents.
Ang pangalan niya? Mr. Ocampo? Mr. Ocampo, next time you seek the permission of the court before you speak. You just don't butt in there. Thank you. If that's the case, then let's have a recess. We resume after 30 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Chief.